Yeah.
And this is Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Kachmar. Today's date, Jeremy, what's today's date?
Good,
On the old,
good question.
Today
Let's
is
look at
October
22nd.
the year of our Lord 2021.
Year of our Lord.
Thank you for watching, everyone. We're on Facebook Live right
Yeah,
now.
we're everywhere now.
We're on YouTube Live right now,
Twitter
and Twitch.
Yeah.
So tune in, subscribe. We're going to have that bell up there soon, the bell and the subscribe button. So, give us a
Actually,
call.
it is there. If you're watching us on YouTube, please press that subscribe button and click on that bell for notifications for when we do go live. That's very important. Also, for our Facebook Live viewers, like our page, and then you'll get notifications every time we do go live. Our show is a little higgledy-piggledy as far as when we do it. We're going to be trying to land on Tuesdays from here on out. But in the meantime, Fridays.
The Scrubbing Up is Fridays.
Oh,
usually Tuesdays is going to be the lifeguarding show. We have a lifeguarding podcast.
Right.
I know
so
it gets confusing.
Fridays will be that then.
Right. Well, hopefully Tuesdays and Fridays are going to be our video days. So, if you subscribe, then you'll get it. So, my name is Dr. Michael Kachmar. I'm a board certified reconstructive foot and ankle surgeon.
Yep.
And I practice in Toms River, New Jersey. I practice in also Barnegat, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And we have a web page. Can we put the web page up there?
It's up there.
Okay, it's up there already. And how about we give them also, if you could put up there, my email. There's the Dr. Kachmar iCloud. Okay. If anybody wants to send us an email a message, you could also send it to this email.
Right there.
So, and I
email Dr. Kachmar at iCloud.com.
Right, and that's good for our podcast audience.
Yeah.
So this is a medical news show, and we talk about different topics. We have call-ins. I don't know if we're gonna have anybody call in today because we didn't announce it. We just started our new studio here, so we will have call-ins.
Yeah. We're getting off our feet right now, so but things are looking great.
Yeah.
I mean, look at we've gone a quantum leap from where we were.
Yeah. So this is Jeremy. Jeremy, say hello.
How you doing, everybody? It's your old pal Jeremy.
So this is Jeremy. He's the sidekick.
Yeah.
He's my sidekick today. And Jeremy, how about just giving a little about what you do and where we're going, and then I'll talk. We'll show topics.
I'm a director of marketing, and I keep my mind on the pulse of what's happening out there. That's my whole job, really. And so I'm a perfect fit for when we go off medical, but I also work in the medical field. I specialize. So, and we are a podcast also. I want to remind everybody that you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify, Yahoo, Google.
Oh, that's right.
You can find us on like Audible, on Amazon. You can find us on. Just look for wherever podcasts are. Type in "Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Kachmar" and you'll find us.
The only thing is, Jeremy had an idea. We were going to give away like a $40,000 pickup truck for the fifth listener, but we scratched that.
Hey, you know what? I am going to be working on getting prizes. And we're gonna put something together so you guys can win.
Yeah,
it's just an incentive for keep on watching. Tell your friends, share our videos on your your mutual social media platforms. Please, we want to get the word out for our show. It's near and dear to our hearts. So with your help, we can do that.
Yeah. I don't know why you're fading in and out with the my on my monitor here. So anyway, we have to. It's a live TV, so we have technical. We have to work on that. Jeremy's. I don't know, Jeremy. The lights are on you, so I have no idea what's going on.
I know.
So who knows? It's I know what it might be. No. So anyway, so let me start the show. So today we're going to talk about bunion surgery, and this is I did statistic analysis. Most bunions. So first of all, bunion is a deformity of the foot. I think most people heard about a bunion, know what a bunion is,
yeah.
But it's where the big toe drifts over to the second toe. There's a kind of big bump there.
Yeah.
And it hurts in shoes, and a lot of people have it. Probably if you look at the statistics, vast majority of bunion surgery is done by surgeons like myself, board certified reconstructive foot and ankle surgeons. We're called DPMs, Doctor of Podiatric Medicine.
Yeah.
Orthopods do some of it, but for the vast majority of the bunion surgery it's done by us. And we do several different procedures. We do one that's called a chevron, an Austin. There's a lot of names for it, but you do the procedure where the bump is. And then there's another procedure we do. It's called a base procedure, base wedge. We don't have any pictures of it, but you could go online and look at all this. I think I just want to throw this out because what's trending now is that they're doing this procedure, and it's called the lapidus. It's an old procedure. You say you see it on the internet all the time.
I see it. No, it could be because, you know, I'm with you and I do a lot of searching on my own. But yeah, I see it on YouTube all the time, the advertisement for this. So, I mean, their marketing is, you know, off the charts if I'm noticing it, you know, on something like YouTube.
Yeah. So, and what I'm seeing in my office, the reason why I'm bringing this up, the lapidus now has been resurrected. It was a procedure that was kind of popularized in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, you were telling me this is a really old procedure, and now all of a sudden they're bringing it out like it's brand new.
And in the 90s, it was really condemned. And I'm going to show you some of the articles that were written. Now it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and there's these big companies that are making a ton of money on the hardware that is used to do this procedure.
Right.
So there's a lot of hardware that's used interoperatively to do the procedure for, you know, to get the right angles and everything. And then there's tons of screws and plates that go in there. 2 plates, anywhere between 12 screws. I mean, I've seen, 4, 8, 9, 10 screws, 8 screws, and that stays in your body. And that's your foot, there's not a lot of room there. Yeah. And I've, over the past 3 years, have seen at least 7 people who come to my office with really bad outcomes. Really horrible results, chronic pain, and basically crippled. And I'm not making this up. You know me. I don't go in hyperbole.
No, you don't.
And they weren't done by, crackpot doctors. These were done by big institutions. Right. Some of these people too, they did the procedure and then they had to redo it. They had 5. I had one woman, she had 5 bunion procedures done on the same foot to fix the first one that didn't work. And the second, and it's terrible. And I just was at a seminar for 3 days, this, a couple, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's all they talked about. The lapidus, greatest thing since sliced bread. But all of these professors who lectured are in these big universities, and they're getting, I know they're getting paid big money. I mean, the companies are financing the seminars and pushing their product. So so what's the lapidus? The lapidus, just so everybody knows, is where you fuse a joint. You actually cut the joint to correct the bunion and you fuse it. Now I'm going to read you an article, okay, from the Journal of the Journal Foot and Ankle Surgery. Okay, very prestigious journal, American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons. Okay, this article was in July 1st, 1996. Okay. People could look it up. Sure. So that's the Journal of Foot and Ankle Surgery, American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons, very prestigious journal. And I'm going to read you what they say here. The lapidus procedure ultimately should be used as the last resort to eliminate painful arthrosis, which is arthritis, from the metatarsal cuneiform joint, reduce severe deformity, or give medial column stability to a paralytic or a spastic foot. If no pathology exists within the metatarsal cuneiform joint, then surgeons should use other procedures to correct pathology of the first ray in elective surgery. Okay, that's the paradigm in 1996. Okay. Today, it's totally opposite of what I just said.
Really?
They're saying now to use this procedure as the go-to number 1 tool in your toolbox to fix a bunion. Okay, I'm not making this up. Here, people, I should have had it. I'm telling you what it is.
Okay, all right. So
this is real time today. Okay, forget about there's new technology. Or
no.
You're still fusing you're still friggin'
motivation for that.
What's the motivation? My opinion, Count Monet.
That's what I'm saying.
I like that movie with what was his name? He did the he's a little short comedian and Mel Brooks, and he was he did a movie. It's called It's Great to Be King.
Yeah.
And one of his one of his ministers, he was called, they say Count, the Count, like Count, Count Kachmar. His
Yeah.
name was Count Monet. Count the money.
Count Monet. Oh, that's funny.
Count the Monet. Count
That's
Monet.
funny.
And listen, it's the rhetoric is, oh, you got to correct it's 3D, everything's 3D, and you got to correct the bunion in 3 planes, blah, blah, blah. I tell you what, you're left with all of this hardware. I could do a closing base wedge. Okay.
Now, this is what I wanted to ask you. Now, you named 2 procedures before.
Closing base wedge.
What's the difference?
Well, you're not fusing a joint. This thing fuses a joint. This is, and I will, next time we'll talk about this. We'll have some diagrams, and because we just started this, the video part of this.
Right.
For the podcasters, we don't have that. So what basically it is with the Lapidus, you're fusing a joint in the back of the foot. In the other procedures, you're just cutting the bone. You're not so when you fuse a joint, you have to make sure that joint fuses. It doesn't always fuse.
Yeah.
And also, you're disrupting a huge amount of bone surface. Whereas with the closing base wedge, it's very small. Here's what I do with a closing base wedge. I go in, I do it. I put one pin that sticks out of your foot for 6 weeks. It comes out. You're done. When I'm done with you, you got a beautiful procedure, a nice outcome, very low risk procedure, very, very low risk. Fixes it real well. Not, does it correct in all 3 planes? Maybe not, but you don't need to have it all correct in 3 planes. Yeah. I don't buy that 100%. And you got no hardware in there. And the risks are, I've done them for 30 years on, I don't know how many, hundreds, if not, I don't know how many I've done. I did my training where the guys who I trained with had 30 years of doing this procedure, and it works. And it's a good one. Now we come up with this complicated, high-risk procedure. I just was listening to these guys. They're like, oh, we got new technology. It's great. It's not, we don't have any of those complications that we did years ago. Right. But here's my point. This article is not talking about, this is what I'm trying to impress on people. This article is not talking about, how you do it. They're saying that you shouldn't do it. This procedure should not be used for a mild to moderate bunion. Right. This is for one that has, really arthritis or spastic. Very limited.
Right.
Okay. So this procedure is now expanded from a limited criteria to use to now a mild bunion. That's what you got to use. And I tell you, I have a girl who came in just 2 months ago, 28 years old. She's miserable. Her bone is all short. She's got chronic pain. She had this done for a mild bunion, and she's got a ton of hardware in there.
Oh my God!
She's got. I should show you the X-rays. But I just want to throw it out again. It doesn't. If I want the podcast community to understand, you got to look at this and the Lapidus. There's a lot of names for it. There's these companies pushing it. There's YouTube videos, and I've watched them, and I laugh. I am going to tell you right now that if you're going to have a bunion procedure, and you better get a second and third opinion, and you better do a research, because if they want to do one of these Lapidus procedures on you, you better understand what you're getting into. And I watched just to watch the video. It says, oh, you can walk in 2 weeks. I
got a couple questions about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
So you're the guy who comes in, you got a bunion, and I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I'm a patient. First off, maybe this particular patient had that procedure. Is it easily reversible?
No.
Ooh. Oh, it's not.
Oh,
so this is definitely,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
So what happens is they come in and what happens with the metatarsal, and it's really hard to explain without pictures, but it's shortened, which is no good, and it's elevated, which is no good. So it changed up the dynamics of the foot, and you put pressure on other bones, and you jam the joint. The big toe doesn't work as well because and you can say, well, that's technical. It's the doctor's fault. But why, these procedures, it's tough. And then the company will say, no, we got all this instrumentation that takes makes it easy. A monkey could do it, And I'm like,
but see, they say that because they know what the patient wants to hear.
Right.
That's why they say that.
Right. It's a big marketing. So the thing is, I've seen these people come from the best institutions where supposedly you have big time surgeons doing it,
right?
And they're still coming in screwed up. Now, did the patients I don't know, do anything wrong. They're walking them, I think, way too early. Everybody, they're selling this because, oh, you could walk in 2 weeks. I tell my patients, you can't walk for 6 weeks.
Right.
You can't walk for 6 weeks. And then after that, you got to be in a walking cast, partial weight bearing.
Right.
They're telling them, oh, you can walk in 2 weeks. They come to me and I'm like, you're crazy. And then when they have a bad outcome, they come to me and I'm like, hey, what do you know?
It's too late.
Well, I could try to fix it, but you know what? It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, you're every time I can tell you, I had the one lady come from one of the big institutions, which I will not name. I should, because it's factual, but she had 5 surgeries. They did it. They screwed, it didn't work. They did it. They've tried to fix it. They tried to fix it. 5 surgery. She was a surgical cripple.
Right.
And it's so funny because this wasn't, we fight back and forth, podiatry and orthopedics. This was an orthopod who did it. And they used to criticize us for creating surgical cripples back in the day.
Right. Right.
And this dovetails into another thing. When you talk about this is now they got the other thing now is minimal incisional surgery, MIS.
Sounds good to
right.
the patient.
And so here's the funny, now that is
minimal,
where you
minimal is the word I like to hear.
You make a little tiny incision and you go in there. Now there's 2 years ago, I was at a seminar with a good friend of mine, Scott Millay, and Scott Millay did a prospective study of 75 papers on minimal incision surgery. And one of the things that Scott does that's amazing is he looks at the papers and sees if there's a way to now evaluate them, whether or not with their level 1 study or they're good or bad.
Right.
There's a lot of, you could have, you ever hear that, I always guys used to come in, they're selling a widget, like, hey, we got this, we got this product right here, here it is right here. This thing could save your life,
Right.
And I said, well, where's the studies? Oh, we got one study. It was done in the province of, Bing Bang in India, and Dr. Ding Ding Dang Dang, and he wrote a paper. And I'm like, that's it? That's it.
That's it.
And that's what they're going on.
I get like marketing guys all the time pitching a product, and I hear all the bull crap.
So 75% papers on minimal incision surgery. There was maybe 2 that were credible that Scott was telling me.
Right.
He did a lecture on this. So the literature is really shaky. And what the funny thing is that this seminar, right? You have these doctors who are paid to be on this diocese, and they lecture. So the same guy who was pushing the Lapidus, which is, open surgery, million screws and plates, then does a thing with minimal incision surgery. And he's like, well, it's different patients. I'm like, they're being paid by both these companies.
Yeah. These guys drink a punch,
Well, no, they're making money.
Yeah, no, but
they're making Count Monet.
It's a green punch, and they're drinking it.
Yeah. So, and then the poor slob, and see, a lot of the patients that they see are inner city, and I don't know, maybe, So I'm just telling the people out there is what I see. And I've been to seminars for 30 years. They've been every couple of years, they come out with the new thing. The Lapidus now is the new, the new and the best.
So now I'm the patient. I heard about this Lapidus thing. I'm coming to you for a second opinion. You put me straight about it. Okay. So now my next question, is what you do instead, right? What's the healing time? This is coming from a patient.
So let me just.
What's the healing time? How does my foot look afterwards?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what the patient's really thinking about.
Right. Let me make a point here. The Lapidus is a procedure that we could use, and I have used it.
Yeah.
And so what I want to make sure crystal clear is that any of these procedures we do could be good or bad. Depends on several factors. First of all, where's it indicated for? What's it indicated for? And the doctor's technique and experience, and also the patient. So let me tell you what I have found in my experience is that one of the most powerful procedures is what's called a closing base wedge osteotomy, where you do it where they cut the bone is where the joint is. I go up 1 centimeter. You know what a centimeter is?
Yeah.
1 centimeter from where they would make, but I don't fuse the joint. I cut the bone. So it's bone on bone. There's no joint. When you cut a joint out and try to fuse it, there's a lot of pitfalls. First of all,
and now there's no joint anymore.
Well, yeah, that doesn't really cause much problem because of the movement, but you have to shave the cartilage off. You have to, You know,
Yeah.
either drill the bone. There's a lot of techniques, but you got to get that prepared. You have to prepare those surfaces.
Because they have to rejoin.
Right. And
Yeah.
then you gotta hope that you don't take too much bone away. And then you got to reposition it so it functions. What I do when I do the closing base wedge is I make a cut, a wedge. I don't disrupt the one side of it. I actually cut a wedge out and then I bring it down. It's hard to show, you know.
No, I understand
But
what you're saying.
but I
yeah.
still have the bone attached to itself, so it's not going to rotate. You know, it could, but and then I put one pin, a big Steinman pin, and that's
Yeah.
it. And that's all it holds. That's all you need. And you go into cast. Your time is 6 weeks in a cast. We
Okay.
take you out.
Yeah.
It takes stitches out. You're 6 weeks in a cast.
Because this is what I was going to say. Like, forget you're a doctor.
Right.
Dumb it down. You know, so 6 weeks I'm in a cast.
But let me just stop, but give you more perspective. I just gave you an article about how it criticized this procedure in 1996.
Right.
I didn't get it, but I could give you tons of articles about how good the closing base wedge is. Now, there's I tried looking for it. I couldn't find it. There's an article that was put out by the New England Journal of Medicine, probably 20 years ago, maybe 15, and said if everybody had a closing base wedge, you know, that procedure,
Right.
that you know, we would have you know, such great outcomes. Because there's other procedures that we do, they're kind of like cheating. They're a little bit higher up where the bunion is, and you know, you're not getting it where the deformity is. There's a thing called the apex of deformity. It used to be called cora. We get into really complicated, you know, but what they're doing is they're taking these scientific measurements and trying to apply say why they're going to do this procedure,
Right.
because it fits into the mathematical equation. And you know, in real life, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
All right. But saying that, so the other thing about a closing base wedge, you know, it was good for 50, 60, 70 years. All of a sudden it's not good anymore.
Right.
And see, I rather say what's superior. I could, with a closing base wedge, I've done both. I've done Lapidus and closing base wedge. I could tell you in vast majority of people, 95% of the people, I could get as just good outcome with one or the other. The Lapidus is more risky, more hardware. You know, you know, if you put enough hardware in, I guess you could walk them sooner. But I think the complication rates are a lot higher. Now, I guarantee doctors right now will send me emails. You're full of, you know, I could show you this study, that study, and I could just say to you, I see what's in real life. You know, I see what's coming to my office. I see, you know, the bad outcomes. I wouldn't make this up. I'm a Christian. I wouldn't lie. You know, I see that, and so I don't know what they're. And I've seen papers before that were corrupt. So
as a patient, there's only two things I want to know. And this is going to determine whether I get this operation from you. At the end, how does my foot feel and how does it look?
Right, exactly.
That's it. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I need to know if I can wear sandals
or,
well, you know, and how does it feel?
Well, you know, we'll see, you know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll see who was right and who was wrong.
Yeah. The procedure you make, though, the foot looks right. You know,
I've done tons of them.
Feels good.
I've done tons of them.
Looks right.
Listen, I just had my friend come in. He's a physical therapist. I operate on his wife's both feet, you know, one at a time. 25 years ago. She's, you know, still doing great. The only complication I've ever had, I've never had a non-union. I had an infection but the lady wasn't listening to me. She was walking on it. And actually I took her to the hospital, took the pin out, put an external fixator, you know, where it's like it's some pins, front pins and back to hold it. And she healed up great. You know, what they're doing is it's a lot of OR time. It's a lot longer, I think, but it's just a ton of hardware. When I say that, you're putting, you know, 8 screws, maybe 9 screws. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing. And it's a lot of work. And I think it's just putting, you know, you don't need it. I think it's overkill. I think maybe that's another way to look at it. I'm trying to give you, I mean, you know, you say, oh yeah, it works. Yeah, it works. But why go through that? So they could walk another 3 weeks earlier?
I've been taught to not like the word fusion. Okay.
Oh, that's what Gabe.
Yeah,
so sure.
see?
You know, it's very, so what's interesting to me, this is not a new procedure. The Lapidus procedure is not a new people are like, oh, Dr. Smith down the street, he's got this new procedure. I go, what is it? It's called the Lapidus. You know, they call it something else because of the company. And I'm like, well, I said, that was in the 40s. You know, we've trained on that. In the 90s, it was pretty much by the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons said, hey, back off on it.
Right.
So, you better, you know what I say to people, what I say to a patient like you, listen, go look at the literature. And if you're not that smart to look at the literature, then, hey, buyer beware.
Right.
But don't come back to me if you have, a major problem. And I know one right now, it's a lawsuit, and I feel bad. I feel bad for the doctor, but these things are you could be really crippled. So you have to be really careful. One thing, I was at a seminar at another university and they were pushing the lapidus and there was all these residents there. So I got up and they know who I am. I'm a board certified reconstructive foot and ankle surgeon with 30 years of experience. So, you're not going to laugh at me. You could try to challenge me. And I said, listen,
when a board certified reconstructive surgeon talks, people listen.
Yeah. And I said, well, it's the whole concept here is we're going to fix this thing in 3 planes. Now, 3 planes, when you talk about that, you got up and down, sideways, and back and forth. So, everything has a deformity in 3 planes, So the whole thing now is this thing about the apex of the deformity, and we're going to correct it this way. It's like a lot of mumbo jumbo, and it sounds really good, but stuff like that sometimes doesn't work in the real life.
Yeah.
And
it's all smoke and mirrors,
the other thing
right?
is, do you really need to correct all of that?
Smoke and shadows.
You really need to, we're so enlightened, and I sit there and I a lot of the people see. Here's what you have to look at. Is you made the really important point. We get academic, so us look at these patients and we look at the the X-rays and how it looks, and that's what we judge success on.
Yeah.
We don't give a shit. Some of these guys, even that doesn't matter if you had, at 100 people, 10, are crippled, but those 90 are, man, they look good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the reality is, how do they function? Like you said, you don't give a rat's butt what the X-rays look like. Maybe you don't even care how much hardware is in there. You just want to know, my foot look good? Can I function?
Will it feel good? That's it.
Right.
That's the two main questions.
So here's my thing. I could give you, I could say I could fix this 95% of back where, it was before they had the bunion.
Oh, brilliant.
But the other procedure, I could do it to 100%, let's say. Let's just give the argument that the lapidus could fix it to 100%. Okay. But I could fix it to 95. But my 95, my risk is 1%. The lapidus, the risk is 10% of a catastrophe.
Of a catastrophe. Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's 1% with mine, but let's just say, where would you go?
And for most of us, when was the last time you won the lottery?
But think about the risk. So if I tell you,
like that,
so for another 5% of fixing it, maybe where it looks perfect, but you're still going to function. Yeah. Would you risk 10% of that you have a 10% chance of being bad off,
right?
Or say 0.01% of risk with the closing base wedge, or 1%. I mean, my point is that
1% is so low.
My point is with, they can say, well, we have better equipment and, we have lower risk. And I understand that, but still, I see people who are doing the procedure and I look at the history, I look what's out there. And I think that what's moving this procedure along is not necessarily, great outcomes. Not necessarily, maybe they're, the interpretation of the literature is being biased because there's big money behind it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when I do my bunion, the closing base wedge, I put 1 pin in there. It probably costs $6, maybe 10. You know what those screws cost and those plates? Thousands. Probably, and the company's probably making 10 grand on a procedure,
right?
As opposed to $6. They don't even talk to me. The company who sells the pins, you think they won't even buy me a lunch?
No, they keep
but
driving.
If I'm doing 3 bunion procedures at 10 grand a week or 10 of them, or if I'm in a big institution, man, they're going to be, that's a lot of cash. Yeah. You could think about the numbers. So I just because I'm sick and tired. I'm getting, I'm seeing these people. I'm going to start, taking an X-ray and doing
no, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, it's very
well. I'm just there. What has happened in human nature? They took this thing in the beginning when they started pushing the lapis and saying, okay, we're bringing it back, but it's only for the bad cases.
Yeah.
And then, well, you know, we're going to use it here. Now it's used on anything and everybody.
And bringing it back and calling it brand spanking new, it's almost implying that there's been an innovation in the field,
Well,
and this is it right here.
They're
the
saying
lapis.
that the better it's better equipment. And when I told you about when I stood up and I talked to that professor, and I said, listen, you want to correct this thing in 3 planes. I said, first of all, not every deformity is really 3. I mean, I understand it's 3 planes, but the majority of the deformity is not in all 3 planes. It's a majority is in maybe 2 planes. You know, so you don't have to fix the 3rd plane, and to go through all of this gyration, and they didn't want to hear it. They're gun ho. We're going to do the lapidus. And I think what you're going to see is, like, I've seen this before.
No, and recovery time has got to be longer.
Well, if you don't have a complication, I mean, the skin heals up the same.
Yeah.
They walk them quicker. Some of them people do. And I think that's where they run into the problem. It elevates the bone. They put pressure on the hardware. I'm going to do a deep dive in the next couple of months on the complications, because they're starting to come out, and they got to be written about. And like I saw 5 or 6 complications. Now, I didn't write a paper about it. I should, I haven't thought, so that's what you need to, and that takes time. So I'm seeing them now, and I'm like, so I was like, okay, lapidus, I know people are doing it. If that's what they want to do, fine. But then when I start seeing people come in my office, trickling down where they have major problems,
where they've had it, and now, please, Dr. Kachmar, can you help me?
And then they've had multiple procedures to try to fix it. Now I'm starting to say, whoa, what's going on here? And then they're pushing this with such zeal at the big universities. And then now I'm looking online, I see that there's big money, big pharma behind it. Big pharma, it's big pharma. I mean, they're making tons of money on it, and they got commercials, they got diagrams, cartoons. So I just think that right now, there's a lot of other procedures that, in my opinion, are less risk, faster, easy to do, don't leave you with a ton of hardware. So say, well, so what's the big deal about hardware? Well, you have nothing in your foot when I'm done with you, most of the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything I could take out. You're left with now.
But see, that right there alone to the patient means so much.
Well, think about it. You're skinny. I'm not you're skinny, but if
thanks,
and I'm not going this way, so I'm sorry.
If you see me from the side.
So Jeremy's not skinny, but here's the thing. If you were skinny, Jeremy, right? If you were skinny, and especially a man but a woman, and you have 2 plates that are as long as your finger, a plate with 4 screws, and then another plate with 4 screws, and then another screw or 2. That's a lot of stuff, and it could rub on your shoes. I mean, you want to go back to running or something. And your joints. And again, they're saying, oh, it doesn't affect the movement of your foot and anything. I can tell you right now, I do a closing base wedge. I've had people, they didn't run. I don't have them run for 6 months, but they get back to running. They're big time athletes, and they have no problems.
Right.
The bone here, it's like a fracture. What I am basically doing, Jeremy, when I do my bunion procedure, closing base wedge, I'm actually causing a fracture in the bone. But it's a surgical fracture.
Oh, we got Janelle Duffy. She says, good afternoon, Kachmar and crew. Good morning.
Say good morning, Janelle. Hey,
good morning.
Tell Janelle we're going to start having call-ins, so they're going to be able to call in and talk to us.
We'll put the number you can call in up on the screen and join our show when
Yeah, we're gonna start doing call-ins. We have to get it done.
Yeah. But
so they're sending me texts. So anyway, once we get a bigger audience, we're gonna definitely do call-ins. We have to be consistent, so people could find us and call in. And actually,
she says, wish Peyton good luck.
Oh, I tell you what, how about this? They're listening to us. How about we do this? Let me do something. I'm going to have them right now. Just tell them, hold on. We're going to do a little experiment here. Okay. Just everybody bear with me real quick. And what we'll do is, let me see if I tell you what, how about Janelle or Duffy? How about you call in right now? And we'll talk to you live on the phone. You want to call in? Call in. We'll experiment. I have the phone on for you, and you guys could call in. Anybody you want to call in? Call in. Yeah. If you want, you'll be live. So all you got to do is call my phone number. You have my phone number. I know you guys have my phone number. Just call my cell, and we'll answer it for you. and you come on live. So we'll see if they want to do that or not. I know it's
Oh, she just asked what number.
just tell them my cell phone number. They have
It's
it.
your cell phone. It's his cell
My
phone
doctor's
number.
the cell phone number through the doctor's office. They know.
Through the doctor's
Yeah, okay.
office. Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Hello. Hang on. Let me get you on here. Hang on. Just give me 1 second. Hang on. We got to get you here. How do we do this?
First time caller, right?
First time caller. Yep. There we go. Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Hey,
you're on.
doing,
You're on live. How are you guys doing?
we are doing wonderful. I'm listening to all your stuff that I've been through with you already.
Yeah. So Janelle used to work in the office with me, and she was one of our nurses. And she saw this stuff. You know me, Janelle. I don't pull any punches. I don't. Did you see any of these?
On the bus with nobody.
Did you see any of the complications? Don't you mention any names or anything? But did you see any of the complications we're talking about? I don't know if you were still. I don't.
One of them, yes, I did, and I know where they went too.
Yeah. Yeah, and these people. I mean, I don't know if you noticed sort of one. I remember one that really stuck out. She had the same place, and it's an institution. It's a big. It's not. I mean, it's a bunch of doctors there, and I mean, they do hips, knees, backs.
That's that. What do you call conveyor belt medicine?
Yeah. But these guys are well trained, and so the rhetoric is, the only complications we get are on people who are poorly trained or didn't have the best equipment. These guys are the best trained, have the best equipment, and they still have bad outcomes. Well, maybe the procedure is bad, not the doctors. Huh? I'm just saying, right, Janelle. What do we know, right?
Yes, and I can recall her saying how much she's been through so many doctors and speaking to you, and it was like night and day.
Yeah. Well, they I feel, but sometimes though, I can't do anything for these patients. They're so far gone. So, is there anything you guys want to ask us about the show? Anything? Any?
Oh, my daughter, you did. My mom said you did wonderful with her daughter, with her extra bone.
Oh yeah.
We found out.
What's
both
that?
Feet. Both feet. She had the extra bone to remove.
Right. She had what's called an accessory navicular, Jeremy.
But anchors.
Yeah. Scrabble word.
Yeah. So it's a thing where on the inside of your ankle you actually have an extra bone. I don't know if it represents a finger back in the day. When we were climbing around the trees. Who knows?
Maybe.
But yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But we do remove them when they become very painful, and it's a nice procedure. Yeah, she did very well. I'm glad. She just had a baby, right?
So we would have never known unless she was a cheerleader, and it came out.
Yeah. Yeah. We what's that?
Go ahead.
No, we do quite. We see quite a few of that. Most of the time, we could take care of them with orthotics, but sometimes they need to come out. Yeah.
And my own daughter.
Yeah. Yes,
so
right.
You've been taking care of this family for a while.
Yeah, I knew their father real well, and we grew up together.
That's great.
So they're all good people over there. So.
I mean, I know Janelle just from the years we've been on the radio, and now just coming up she was always in our comment section. She rarely missed a show.
Dr. Jasper commercials.
Oh yeah, you like them?
I see them all the time.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So tell our audience who Dr. Jasper is, so we don't lose our audience. Who's Dr. Jasper? Just
Dr.
throw a plug out for him.
Is another doctor I work for. He has a radio show on 104.1 FM at the Jersey Shore. It's called Painless with Dr. Gabriel Jasper. You can also listen to it live on his Facebook page.
It's a great. If you have any back issues, anybody out there listening
Jasper
to us,
Spine Institute.
throw the contact information for Dr. Jasper.
Jasper Spine Institute .com, or no, it's jaspermd.com is his website. Jasper Spine Institute on Facebook, where we stream it live. If you like that page, you're going to get notifications when we are live. In fact, I got to contact him tonight to see if we're going to do a show tomorrow. And but he is the master of pain, just like Mike is the master of the lower extremities.
Right. So what do you think about that?
I do have to say, Dr. Kachmar, my brother did thank you for thanking the first responders for their saving on the life.
Oh yeah, let's give them a hand, okay? Let's give them.
Give them a hand.
Let's give them a hand. Can we give them a hand? Can we give them a hand? Yay!
See, we're fighting back the crowds.
Now you're embarrassing me.
Listen, I was watching a YouTube video about lifeguard.
About me? I'm on YouTube now too. I'm YouTube.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
We didn't know
Not
that.
really.
No, but let me tell you something. First responders, fire department, they make a lot of rescues when we go home. They come out, and this year they made a lot of rescues, and also the surface.
I've never seen I work right there where they enter when after Labor Day, and they did those 20-something rescues. I've never seen so many personnel enter that boardwalk as I did that day.
Yeah, it was rough. Yeah, that's when it
was bad.
Yeah. That's when that weekend when 2 people drowned. There was a 27-year-old girl
I think it was a total 18 or something. We were up to our 13.
What's that?
When I left work, there was a total of 14. They were rescued already.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, there was the one that died.
Yeah, 58-year-old man drowned and a 27-year-old girl, and it was all right around not on our beach, but north of us, about a mile.
Yeah.
And that's because we have lifeguards on. I was working that weekend. I didn't work that Saturday. I worked a Sunday, and we double red flag. We didn't let anybody in the water. We run a tight ship, but we have police backup. And the problem is a lot of these other beaches, they're being told by the attorneys and their insurance carriers that if they have lifeguards on the beach, they have to have full complimentary or nothing, which is, in my opinion, bullshit. Here's another thing. I'm not a lawyer. Well, I can tell you real life. If you don't have lifeguards on the beach, people are going to drown. Yeah. Now, so they say, well, if it's better to have a few lifeguards than nobody, because probably less people will drown, or maybe nobody will drown. Right. So, these lawyers, they sit in these, this is what the law is, but what about what's morally right? What? And you say, swim at your own risk. We had a whole conversation about this. I don't want to, we got to listen, you know what you got to do, Janelle, you got to call up for our show when we do lifeguarding next Tuesday. Call up and we can talk about this. But I'm gonna sign off. I'm gonna say thank you.
I'm on a mission to enter the cheer arena again tomorrow. Get my last minute thing.
Good. I tell her I said good luck with everything. We'll be cheering. Send us some pictures, okay? We could put them on. We'll put them on. Maybe we'll put them on the lifeguard show if you.
Sure.
So all right. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
All right.
That worked out well.
That worked out pretty good, right?
That worked. Yeah, we have our our new system here. So anyway, we'll save that now for our lifeguard show. And so let me end this thing with the bunion procedure, because I do a lot of bunions. People come in, that's our bread and butter, so to speak. And we do. First of all, I don't like operating on, or I wouldn't operate on a bunion.
You got to see a bunion a day, right? At least one bunion.
Well, we have people, but we don't operate on all of them. If they're not painful, I'm very reluctant to operate on them. And, we try conservative therapy. We'll try wider shoes. We'll try cortisone injections, because not every bunion is painful. So we'll try to, I don't want to say discourage, but we try conservative therapy. And sometimes people come in and they've had the bunion for 2 years. They have 2 or 3 doctors recommend surgery. They just, put it off because of time constraints. So we may not necessarily go down the road of conservative therapy in that, in that situation.
The patient's probably already been through it. And,
Right.
Due to the history in that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we know the history there. So what we'll do is we'll go for it. But having said that, I just want people to understand that there's this trend right now. There's this procedure out there, and I don't agree that it's the panacea, that it's the gold standard. I don't care what you say. I mean, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm not stupid. I've been around for 30 years. I'm not a moron. I'm not senile. And do I walk on water? No. Does what I say is golden? No. But I have a hard time justifying doing that procedure on most of my patients. And I go back to this article back in '96, journal. I think we should really reevaluate it and use these for only the worst of the worst. Not a mainstream procedure. And I think that's where it's getting out of hand. Because it's money,
I mean, after this talk, you convinced me.
Well, listen, go around and we, like now the minimal incision surgery thing. There's same thing, some reputable people doing it. And it's like, oh, Kachmar, we got better equipment. We got better this, better that. I said, well, you know what? Show me the literature there. And again,
because that's what it all goes down to.
I
Show
mean,
me the literature.
you know,
Let me see
you know,
the.
you're moving the bone, you're doing this and that. And, um, it, it, the thing is, if you have a procedure that you do that's, you know, 95% of the time it's great, and 5% of the time you have some complications that are, you know, what are those complications? If those complications are, you know, ridiculous. Let's just say I do bunion procedure and 100 people, they're perfectly well, but 1 out of 100 dies. Would we still do that procedure?
Yeah, I mean,
No.
that's
No.
yeah.
Is it worth dying for a bunion?
Really, no.
So then okay, well, it's not, you're not going to die, but then what if you're crippled? Like you can't ever, you know, run again or dance again. Is that worth, out of 100 people, if that happens to one person, is it worth it?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Whereas
see what you're
opposed
saying.
to, you know, again, you know, is any procedure 100%? If you do 10,000 bunions, is there going to be somebody who has a, you know, a bad outcome and, you know, develop an infection or non-union? And it can happen. So part of it is risk, but I just say, to me, you know, at the end of the day, it's a lot more OR time. It's a lot more hardware. And I think you can get to almost the same outcome, or
Yeah.
pretty damn close, to a more simple procedure. And I think from the patient standpoint, they'll be just as happy.
That's life. That's like, you know, walking and dancing and
Yeah.
you know, and
I-
George Michaels was right though. You're never gonna dance again.
Mm, 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 mm.
Oh, thank you for that delayed laugh.
You like that, huh?
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
little toy. I don't want to abuse it. We have all the, you know. Oh, you know who used to do that? Paul. Remember Paul at our studio?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Paul
yeah.
used to throw that, and I always
He
used
does
to
it
like
too.
that.
I'll actually call, like, if like we had a pastor call, and he was speaking out about the mandates and stuff on Dr. Barbara Schneider's show,
Right.
you know, Radio Free with
Yeah.
Radio Free Times River, and I was like, oh, we got to give him an applause, Paul. Come on, you got to give
Yeah,
it to
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And a little fanfare for the pastor.
Yes, that's good. Hey, you know, while we're, I want to throw it out there for our podcast and our live Facebook Live, especially the Facebook Live audience. We may have Al Ayers on Tuesday and Friday of next week. Al Ayers is the ex-captain of the Seaside Beach Patrol, so he's going to come in with the lifeguard, but he's also running for school board in Berkeley Township.
Yeah.
And he wants to, you know, come in here, and he'd be really somebody great to, you know,
and
see.
I'd like to get him on one of my other shows too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's listening right now, but he's supposed to call me today. So people should try to tune in next Tuesday and next Friday. It'd be, I think, a very lively
a man who's making a stand against the mandates and
yeah. Well, we'll find out
what they're putting into the schools, you know,
Right.
and every parent is going to be wanting to hear that interview.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to know what his position is, you know, officially. I haven't spoken to him, but you know, and you know, we talk about medicine and everything. And we could talk a little bit about that because, you know, we're talking about masks, and we've been talking about the CDC, and it's interesting. I go on the CDC. I was on it this morning looking at statistics. I was looking at death rates in the United States and what you know kills people. And still cardiovascular disease and cancer. Suicides are creeping up, but the deaths now, the deaths from coronavirus, we call it the cocoa virus, is going down. I think that you are approaching herd immunity in the United States. Almost a lot of people, even though you know, they're fighting over these mandates, but most people got, you know, they got it. I mean, you got pretty damn close to, I think you have enough people between getting the vaccine and getting the virus. You know,
and there's people who got the virus but showed no symptoms. You know, there are people like that. So you may have gotten it, maybe had a couple sniffles, maybe a cough for a couple days, and then it left you. But you may have had it. You now have the antibodies, and you're safe.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, I think that what we've been reading now is that if you look at the people 65 and older, over 95% of them have been vaccinated, and people are getting the booster. We're all about, you know, if you go back in our archives and look at our show, I've been consistent. We've been pushing, you know, for the vaccine. Initially, we said, listen, if you're 65 and over, definitely get it. And then we modified that. We, you know, as the statistics came out, and science got better and better, we said, listen, if you're 40 and above, you should get it, And I think now that, almost everybody should get it. Especially if you have comorbidities, I'm a little bit still uncomfortable with children, because they're gonna okay it for like between 5 and 16 or 17.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure.
Well, here's my dilemma, and I never talked to you about this.
Right.
Okay. We told our son Benjamin that we would never,
Force him.
he asked us. No,
Yeah.
he asked us. He wanted it.
How old
All
is
of his
Benjamin?
friends, he's 15.
Okay.
All right. So he was worried that this, he's in marching band, he's president of the class, he's all of this. So he's got a lot of places they go and do things. But now with the with these restraints that they're having, that a lot of places where you go, you have to be vaccinated and show proof of that. We told him
Check
that
the chats. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get.
We told him that if that ever got in the way, we would revisit the conversation.
Right.
Well, now it has. He has an opportunity. Another half of his life is theater.
Right.
And he's been stage managing at the Count Basie Theater, historical Count Basie Theater in New Jersey, and he's got an opportunity to go see The Lion King in New York, and then do a workshop with the cast and crew.
Right.
And that's I was a theater guy too. I understand what an immense experience and opportunity that is. So Maggie and I had to talk about it, and we're not going to keep him from it, So now we feel like, yeah, I think you're going to have to get it if you're going to want it. If you're going to be able to go, you're going to have to get it.
Well, let me just hold on, because here's an interesting point. There's a couple things. First of all, it's a safety factor with children. Now, 15, 16. If you have a child who's got comorbidities, I think it's probably the risk is worth taking the vaccine. But here's the interesting thing about children. Children can't make the decision on their own.
Right.
Well, they, but the law could change. Well, right now, listen, I think the age in New Jersey is 14. If you're a 14-year-old girl and you're pregnant, you don't have to, they give you abortion without telling your parents, or without the parents' permission. So this is crazy town. So the government, if they want, they could come down and say, listen, if you're 14, 12, whatever, you want the vaccine, you could get it. I don't care what your parents say.
Because the big scare is like we, just common folk on the street, like me, like I'm just a schlub like everybody else. Yeah. Like, what are the long-term effects, especially when they're not giving us any information about that stuff? And I don't want to give this to my son, and then in 15 years he can't have children.
Nah, well, listen, I there's some studies coming out of Israel about cardiac issues. We'll know. I think that as time goes on, we'll know. It's tough now to make a decision, but I could tell you one thing I think that people should be somewhat happy about. It seems like the virus is weaning down. Most people are either had the vaccine or had the virus, and question is, will they be carriers? Will they still spread it? Right now I got a woman in my practice. Her two parents, who are fully vaccinated, have corona, and their symptoms are not bad where they're hospitalized, but they actually now put them on a protocol. So they're going, I think today, to get monoclonal antibodies and whatever other cocktail they give. Yeah. So there's a lot of therapeutics too. We forget that. We think it's just the vaccine. So, if a kid does get sick, even if they don't have the vaccine, there's a lot of therapeutics that might bring them right back. So, I mean, it's a mix. It's really hard. I think
it comes down to the individual parent, not the mandates they're trying to impress on people. Because we're the ones that have to make these decisions for our children. And
I know it's tough for you guys.
It is tough. It's so tough. Like I said, he could go, but I still have some reticence.
Sure, because because if you send him and then he has something happens to him,
something happens.
You feel you feel so bad. But then if you don't give him the vaccine and something happens, you feel bad too.
As to be a good parent about this subject with very minimal real information about it, it's tough to make these decisions. And I think a lot of parents out there are having this particular issue.
And I'll make a point because you bring that up. Here's the thing: we've been dealing with the media now, and the CDC, and the rhetoric. I mean, there's people who say the CDC are corrupt. This guy Fauci. We've heard everything from don't wear a mask to wear 3 masks. So even if the CDC comes out and says, hey, listen, it's safe for children 5 to 17 to get the vaccine, a lot of people in this country and in the world don't believe it.
Right.
But, they bullshitted us for, with because of politics, with the Russian collusion. I don't want to get into politics, but I talked to my buddy, he hated Trump. And I'm like, yeah, but, they crucified the guy. Yeah. My point is you get what a lot of, in this country, a lot of black state African Americans, they don't want the vaccine. When Trump was pushing it, coming out, Kamala Harris, other people, I'm not taking that. That's Trump's vaccine. Well, a lot of people, they're like, I ain't taking it, so they created their own problem, part of it. So what I'm saying is
Trump's vaccine is now Biden's vaccine. It hasn't changed.
No. So my point is that the problem is going to be now with the kids. The other thing is people who are pregnant, and I think they just came out with a study in Italy where it could cause problems, with the kids. So here's the bottom line. This is still, an experimental drug. It's not 100%. I got it. I got the booster. I'm all for it. But what I'm not for is mandates. Let us still, I thought this is America and we have the right to decide what we want to do. And I have friends say, oh no, Mike, you got to get the vaccine because if you don't get it, you could pass it on to me or my grandmother or whatever and kill them. Well, first of all, let your grandmother get the vaccine. Okay. Number one.
Why hasn't she gotten it by
now?
I
mean, then she should be, if the vaccine's so great, you can't have it both ways. If the vaccine's great and it's good, give it to her.
Yeah.
And that's it. Now they can say, and then the argument is, well, there's some people can't get the vaccine. They're allergic to it or whatever. I said, well, how many people is that? And tell them wear a mask and stay home. Right. I'm sorry. There's a point where you're going, again, the same old shit. Like right now with all this stuff, we tend to, dwell on the very small population and try to appease that, 1% or 2% and put the rest of the, 98% of the population into turmoil and restrictive mandates. So who are we protecting, So when are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater? It's almost ridiculous. So my point is that, we really should stay away from these mandates. It's a bad deal. And I tell, my colleagues on the left, it should be left to American citizens who will make the right decision. And what you should be focusing on is getting as much credible studies to give the American people so they could feel comfortable getting their kids the vaccine, or not, but show that, these studies are safe.
This is a good segue into what I wanted to bring up.
So go ahead, bring up.
All right. Superman. Okay.
Go ahead.
Now I read I've read comic books my entire life. These comic book heroes were my heroes until I learned what real heroes were, police officers, fire, and military. But what was the main thing that Superman was famous for saying? What did he stand for? Do you remember?
The original Superman. I didn't read the comics, but
I stand for.
Geez, I watch it all the time.
Truth,
too.
Justice, and the American way.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I wasn't a big Superman fan.
That was big. That was massive. Yeah, I mean,
I just like when I just remember this. No, what I remember, he, he's faster than a locomotive.
That's right.
He can climb tall buildings.
Leap tall buildings.
In a single bound. That's what I remember. Right. I remember he could go faster than a locomotive and he could leap, and after that.
At the end of it, he stands for truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah, I was probably like 5 years old. I didn't get it at that time.
My point bringing this up is that I believe that too. I believed in truth, justice, and the American way. On the comic books, you always saw Superman with the American flag flying behind him. Maybe a bald eagle or something like that. Well, this week, they've changed it. They've changed everything. And
What does he stand for now, or she, or he, or?
Yeah, I know. You have to ask that question.
I heard, because I was heard that he's going to be bisexual, or I don't know.
Good grief, no.
Yeah, Superman. Yeah, that's why somebody told me. I don't know how true it is.
He's gonna have it off with Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen.
I don't know. I know. So anyway, but whatever. So go ahead. So
now they've changed it.
I don't care what he is.
Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow.
Okay. Will he still go fast in a locomotive? That's or
yes,
she?
He will. He will.
Or her.
But my point in saying this is not even a cartoon superhero feels like he wants to attribute, like put himself next to America anymore. And I feel sad about that. When I was a kid, the American way was something you felt and you believed, and now you can't feel that anymore.
No. Well, so let's talk about what other people say about that, and then we'll because we got to end the show soon.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, it was never that great back then anyway, and so, and then, and here's my thing about all of that. You could say, there was always corruption. There was always, bull crap, but what's better? See, this is what I asked my friends on the left. I said, well, what's better? Get rid of the Constitution, get rid of the Bill of Rights. I said, what you want? What do you want? Do you want? And see, when I drill down to this is where it all boils down to. I know this woke stuff and everything. Listen, I believe in what Jesus Christ said. I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
Everybody is a brother. We're all created equal, right? And I also believe in the founding fathers. I think when they said all men are created equal, I think they, really in their hearts believed that everybody was equal. They had a lot. I mean, slavery was law at the time, and I knew what I think the problem was that they didn't stick up to that ideal. They didn't believe. Some people didn't believe,
you're 100% right.
but so there was a default, but they had the idea. In other words, the founding fathers took what was going on for the past 4,000, 5,000 years. They looked at the Greeks, they looked at the Romans, and they said, listen, nothing's perfect. Human beings are corrupt. They're sinners. And so this is what we got to do. You got to understand, there's people now who are setting the narrative, don't believe in God, don't believe that, it's good or bad science. It's all, we're neither good nor neither bad, and so we're drifting towards, I keep on saying this, and this is why it all comes down to what do you want? I say to my people, what do you want? And when you ask them what they want, they'll articulate, they'll tell you, and what they'll describe is what I say is the Chinese model. And the Chinese model is no freedom of speech. Now you can say, well, because a lot of people hear, freedom of speech, speech could hurt. Speech could hurt. So we're going to get, we're going to tell you what is appropriate speech and not. So get rid of the First Amendment. Of course, also there is freedom of religion. You got to get rid of religion. In China, you can't teach organized religion until you're 18. Your parents can't teach you. It's not in the government. There's no religion. Maybe there's Buddhist, whatever, but it's not in the country's core is not religious based. There's probably a lot of Catholics there. They say 300 million, whatever. I don't know, but so the next thing is so no freedom of speech, no freedom of religion, no freedom from fear. That you have to be, a population has to be fearful. Yeah. That's how they control you. In this country, you have your civil rights, you have the Bill of Rights. Probably there's 500 million guns. So to a certain degree, we have a level of freedom from fear because, we could take control to a certain degree.
Right.
So what's left?
We used to be able to have control.
So my friends, I said, what they're saying, listen, Mike, what you give up those things. Okay. What you're going to get for that? Is freedom from want. We're going to give you a TV. We're going to give you an apartment. We're going to give you,
some tchotchkes.
Some, what do you call it? Porridge. Remember you always, with Oliver, what are they going to give you?
Oh,
say that. Say that.
With the gruel.
What?
Please, sir, may I have some more?
Yeah, there you go. So start saying that. Say it again. I love when you do that because you're.
Please, sir, may I have some more?
Oh, I love that, man. That's so, and that's the English. And so what's different from slavery or being in jail?
Right.
I mean, we're going to give you a place to live. That's what jail is. We'll give you a place to live. You're going to, they make you work. You give you 3 square meals. You get medical care, or just on a plantation. We're going to give you a house, ding, bang, but you're going to work and you got no rights, and so where are we going? So the woke stuff and everything's nice, but my point is we blame, Trump, we blame Biden, we blame the politicians. We vote him in. I don't know if we still have the ability to vote him in or not, and how much power we have. Yeah. But I have a lot of people who, I talk to, they don't, and they're lawyers, doctors, whatever. They didn't like Trump. They didn't like his policies, but now they like this stuff. I'm like, they want open borders. They want and I say to them, I said, well, what about history? Do you guys look at like Dr. Zhivago when the Russian Revolution, or what happened in Venezuela, or with Mao when he took over, China and they killed, more people died in this world from genocide, which is, governments killing their own, than from the wars.
Right.
And, so my point, getting back to Superman and everything, again, where are we going? What's your outcome? What do you really want, people? And because
that's woke. That's woke right there. Changing his, because that was his oath for decades and decades and decades and decades, and now it's changed because they don't believe that he can, that the American way is good enough for Superman anymore.
Well, and this is getting back to the founding fathers, they were corrupt. And so again, what are you going to, what's next? What is, you're going to, so is everything's going to be science-based? We're going to have this transhumanism?
Now we're seeing it, like anything's up for grabs to change and recreate and remodel in some other person's ideal of a better tomorrow.
Well, I tell you what I see. It's technology. It's all it is.
Yeah.
We're here. We're live streaming. I was listening to Elon Musk, and there, you have this intelligence in the computer. My computer here, I have a mini Mac. I'll do a chore, and next time I do it, it's easier for me. The thing learns from me.
Yeah.
I don't have to do any settings. It does it automatically. So it's here already. And what they're saying is that's your new God. You're not going to, we're going to be one with the machine. And so that's the reality. You can get into this crazy, crazy stuff. And
no, it's not that crazy. There's
no, I'm saying this.
Neil Gaiman wrote a book called American Gods. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was about new gods being introduced and the old gods being pushed out.
Yeah.
And one of those new gods was technology.
Yeah. So when you asked me about Superman, and I dovetail it into this, we're going down this road of less and less people. Maybe we always believed in religion, and that there's a maker, and now people are getting away from that. Like the Second Amendment, great example. Because religion and thought all boil into the same thing. Like even with medicine, I'm a doctor. So is medical care a right or a privilege? Is it? Some people say it's not a right. You don't have a right to have medical care. You have a right to free speech. See, the Second Amendment. The founding fathers did not
envision a modern world.
No, but they didn't invent. They didn't come up and say, "Oh, we're going to invent this thing for the Second Amendment where you could have guns." That was from British. There's a fundamental core religious belief in God, and that God said you have the right to live. You have an inherent right to protect yourself and to live. It's God given. It's a objective law, which means no man or woman or a person, human being, makes that law. That's given from you from up above. Right. Okay. And that's why, so like a guy like me, I believe in the Second Amendment. It's God given. I believe in God though. So I believe in God. I believe that, this is something that I have the right. Same thing with the founding fathers. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident. But what? Where'd that come from? A creator. It says it right in there from the creator.
They do say these are God-given rights.
Well, it says from in their Bill of Rights, from the creator. If you don't believe in that there's a God or a creator or that, then Second Amendment, the Constitution, is it it could be changed. It's not. It's not. Like it'd be the same thing with me and my Jewish colleagues saying, the 10 Commandments, they were, Moses went up there. He was, drinking, whatever, too much wine. He wrote him. That didn't come from God, because if you don't believe in God, and a lot of I have friends who are, they're not religious. I always
Right.
bust their ass. I'm like, what about the 10 Commandments? They're like, they're optional. I said,
Yeah.
well, then because they're man-made.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
No, but see, George Carlin did a whole routine about rights, and he said, he says, we've never had rights. You people think we do. Rights are something that were made up. They're make believe. He says, look at the Japanese Americans in World War II that were taken out of their homes. These are good Americans in good standing. And during World War II, they were ripped away from their homes and thrown in internment camps. We don't have rights. If rights can be taken away from you, they're not rights. All we've ever had are temporary privileges. That's what he said.
Yeah. So let's expand on that, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay.
But you make a good point. So let me just tell you how I look at that from my world. When that happened, there was World War II was going on.
Yeah.
And so the idea was the means justify the ends. Same thing like with coronavirus right now, with sending the old people back to the nursing homes. The means justify the ends. So, we had to clean up the hospitals, and so these poor seniors died like flies, World War II, we didn't know who was a spy. So we had to clean. It wasn't just the Japanese American. And first of all, these were Japanese American citizens. They didn't just do that. See, there was 47 camps. People don't know. Go look at the literature. I did a paper on this. It was American German and American Italian in the beginning. So it wasn't just, but the Japanese got the real shaft.
When we went into the Pacific,
and it got bad too, because they not only put them in concentration camp, they put them in camps, but they took their shit away from them, their property.
Yeah.
If you got a mortgage and everything, all of a sudden you're not working anymore. Well, what happens to your house? You default and it's gone.
Yeah.
So, they weren't.
How long were they in those camps?
I don't remember. But I can tell you one thing is that they eventually reversed that, and it was found to be unconstitutional. But
and I wonder how many of them went back home after it.
But I can tell you what, after World War II, I know this, that they had about 200 Germans, American Germans, who they thought were really, bad people, held up in Ellis Island for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. They implanted a lot of German prisoners of war too in the United States. They came over and put them in the United States, and they married, American women, and they stayed here. So it was kind of an interesting, mix. But my point is that, it's not the first time. Listen, when the Civil War happened, okay, Abraham Lincoln suspended a thing called habeas corpus. So, what that means is that if you get arrested, say, somebody said you robbed a liquor store, we arrest you. Within 24 hours, you have to be brought in front of a magistrate, a judge, and the judge, the judge is going to say, is there enough to hold you or give you bail? You can't be imprisoned forever.
Right.
I mean, unless you're so bad, unless you you killed 20 people, and they had to rip the rifle out of your hand. They're going to let you, so you just habeas corpus. So during the Civil War, he suspended that, Lincoln, which means you could be arrested for anything and everything. And what they did is they used to go into these towns like down south, and it would be the Union Army,
right.
And they say, listen, you got to join the Union Army, and if not, they freaking shoot you on the spot. I mean, or put you in jail. You want to join? Oh no, I'm a Southern. I'm well then fine. Then you go into jail. That's it. Right. So there was no. So my point is, we've had that before and we survived. So getting back to where we are now, will we survive? Will we come out of it? And the things that are going on right now, I'm not so sure. So Superman and but if we what I'm worried about is this is, and I'm not a historian in the sense that I studied it real well, but I don't know if this is the first time we really are going after the core of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I remember reading somewhere where after 10 years of the Depression, okay, the Depression was really bad. And Roosevelt, I guess maybe when he was, maybe it wasn't 10 years, it was 5-6 years, and Roosevelt was running. There's a newspaper article, and I remember, I had it archived, and it said, Roosevelt for dictator.
Right.
And a lot of people in this country were saying, listen, this democracy doesn't work. It's been 10 years. People are starving to death. But you look at Hitler and Mussolini at that point, I don't know if everybody really realized what monsters they were going to turn out to be.
Right.
But they were dictators, and they were bringing their countries out of abject poverty.
Right.
And in this country, people were thinking,
replacing freedom with order.
Yeah, so maybe we should be going down the road of a dictatorship. No, they were talking. So we can't now how serious it was, and Roosevelt. This is Theodore, not Ted, but Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yeah.
He tried to pack the court. He tried to put in. He wasn't getting what he wanted, and he was the executive branch, and he was getting stifled by the Republicans. So what he wanted, and what happens, the Supreme Court was knocking him out. He was, he had a Democratic House and Senate. They passed these bills, it was the New Deal and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of people was like, it's socialism, and went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court knocked it down. So what he did is he tried to say, well, the hell with that. I'm going to pack the court. And that would have changed the power of balance of power. And he got knocked down.
Yeah.
So the system seems to work, and then you got to remember too, what happened with Abraham Lincoln is that what saved our asses, I don't say saved our asses, but what was a escape valve was the states. The states said, no, we're not going to go for this. And, you can make the argument, what came first, the states' rights and or slavery. But I can tell you right now, if you go back, there was a lot of people didn't want slavery, a lot.
Yeah.
And even in the South, I mean, I think that, it was ingrained in their economy. It was hard for them to give it up.
What seems wrong is always going to feel wrong.
Yeah. And there's books written, and you see there was a lot. And in fact, right after the Civil War, the black population had unbelievable rights. It looked like it was going really well. Sad that Lincoln got shot, and then the South, got the Jim Crow law. So, that's a history lesson in itself. But my point is that I reject that inherently people are racist. I think sometimes people are somewhat prejudiced. They'll prejudge somebody. If you when I'm in the islands, I remember when I first started going down there, I'll see a bunch of guys coming at me. They're black, and they got the hoods on, and they look really scary. And my mind's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And they're like, bonjour, sir, So I was, I get treated down the islands like, there's no, and so you have to really, so in our minds, sometimes we do have, but overtly, do I believe that most of my friends believe that somebody who's black or Hispanic or Asian is less of a person? Like Nazi Germany, they thought the Jews were not human beings, that they were genetically deficient, and there was people down the South thought that blacks were deficient. So, right. But, today, really think about it. I mean, there's still some jokes around people, but it's more, they'll criticize the social, like they'll say, I'm Polish, so we're going to, I don't know, or Italians are going to have lasagna, meatballs, whatever. And
you're going to have kielbasa.
Yeah, but say Jewish people are better at accountants, or it's just these stereotypes.
And I'll go suck on a lime.
Yeah, because you're a limey. You're an English guy. Or it goes on and on. All Italians are mafia. Whatever. It's just like, but that's a prejudicial mentality. I think we confuse prejudice with downright racism, which racism, in my opinion, in my world, is where you actually think that a group of people are not human beings. They're less. Yeah. And does really anybody believe that anymore? There's genetic testing.
It's not just a word that was misspoken. It's got to be down to the individual.
What's
and
in
what
your
they
heart?
Truly believe in their heart.
Right. So I, and okay, we could go on and on, but that's what I wanted. This is a great thing because it irritates me to no end when people conflate, when they talk about prejudice and prejudging and downright racism, where so where in our system is there's systematic racism where institutions really believe that you're less of a human being. I think that there's still people who are prejudiced. I think there's still people who are racist. I think there's people out there who have these crazy visions that they're elitist. And maybe they're sitting in the cellar, like I remember that one movie that the the producers. You know, it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
great play.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
where they do they wanted to have a failed
It's springtime
and
for
for Hitler.
Hitler and Germany.
so I don't see it in my personal life.
Yeah.
And I have all kinds of people. I don't see anymore that people really believe that other individuals, other human beings are less because they've done, I mean, and because you could go in there, there's tons of studies. We all came from the same 4 women, basically.
Yeah,
You could track back genetically where we all came from, whether or not you believe in Jesus Christ and all of that, or, you know, we came from the trees. The bottom line is
Adam and Eve.
we all came from, you know, we're all the same. Everybody's related, to, you know, from those 4 women.
This is what I brought up Superman because
So what was the whole point about, you know,
because we also used to have a thing. We used to say American values, right?
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
You know, but people need to understand that these things need to evolve over time. You know, what we went through in our past we could only learn if we went through it.
Right.
You know, and you know, so and American values, they will change over time and they'll get better and better and better. And I think that's what we're in the process of. But don't get too bogged down by you know, suppressing others because you need your way of what American values should be to come first or anything like that. We'll find our way on our own. We did before, we will again.
Yeah.
You know, and
identity politics is a bad thing, and I think that, you know, some of the you know, politicians use it as a tool. And but that, I think it's a dangerous tool to use because it could be you know, out of hand. You know, I have people like I'll have some people say, oh, you know, like when the last election, and they tried to, it was almost like, you know, Black Lives Matter and you know, like maybe blacks against whites. And I saw a bunch of Black Lives Matter protests, not a bunch, but I mean, it was mostly white people, you know. And so, and I said to everybody, I said, this is not a black-white issue at all. Because I tell you, a lot of my friends are conservative blacks. I'm conservative Asian, conservative, you know, Indian. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, what your nationality is. I always go back. I'm going to leave. Because we have to end this. This is getting long. The 2 things that I want to end this with. One is, listen, Jesus Christ. Follow. You know, even if you don't believe in God, whoever Jesus Christ was. Read the New Testament. I'm telling you, there's a lot of good stuff. Matthews, James,
wholesome stuff in there.
There's good advice. The other thing is, you know, Martin Luther King, and one of the things, that guy was a visionary. And I always go by, judge the person by their character, not the color of their skin, not their what they make, what they do, how much money they have. You know, and you may have, you know, that a little bit of a prejudice because maybe that's a genetic thing that, you know, when you see somebody different, you're a little bit nervous, but you know, you bring that down. You say to yourself, listen, I'm going to give the benefit of doubt to everybody and anybody, and I'm going to see what their character is. You can't tell somebody's character by walking up and shaking their hand.
Right.
I mean, sometimes you can't, but you know, I get people on the beach. You
need a little bit more.
I get people on the beach. I'll go down and I'll say, you can't swim here. They're like, oh, you're racist, or you're a cracker, or whatever they call me. I'm like, how do you know that? You don't even know me.
Right.
You don't know me. You know, how about, I said, listen, let's stop. Let's start all over again. My name is Mike. What's your name? And then I get, you know, and you know, in about 5 minutes, like, you know, they're, you know.
But yeah, it's a color first sort of.
Yeah, it's no good. We got to get. Listen, how about, you know, I go down, when I go down somewhere on the beach when I do my lifeguarding, I say, hey, where are you guys from? They like, what? I go, where are you from?
Yeah.
Oh, we're from Jersey City. I said, what's your name? You know, Joe. I said, hey, Joe, I'm Mike. Listen, I'm one of the lifeguards here. Blah 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 blah. You know, and it's amazing how it's you know, changed everything. So anyway, listen, we're gonna do a show. I'm gonna sign off now. We're gonna do a show this next Tuesday, lifeguarding show, and our show will either be, hopefully we're going to try to get on a routine either or Tuesdays or Fridays. But you stay tuned. So we're on. Jeremy, can you give them our information, where we're at, where?
For more information about Dr. Kachmar, it's right on our screen right now. You can go to JerseyShoreFootAndLegCenter.com, and we're on Yahoo. We're on for podcasts. We're on Yahoo. We're on Google. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Audible, you name it, we're there. For Facebook, please go to Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center's Facebook page, like the page so you'll get notifications when we go live. And we're also on YouTube now, and Twitch, and Twitter. You name it, we're there. Look for us. Either type in Dr. Kachmar or Scrubbing Up with Dr. Kachmar or Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center. And there you go.
Right. And this is live right now. So in about 2-3 hours, this will be archived so you can watch it again, or you can listen to us on podcast. We're going to publish this real quick right after we're done here.
Yeah.
So everyone, listen, really, really thank you. We're going to try to have more call-ins,
Sure.
more guests. We got the future is very bright. This is our new studio.
Yeah.
And thank you, Jeremy. I want to say thank you, Jeremy.
Take care.
All right. Goodbye. And we're going to sign off here. So listen, thank you, everyone, for watching us. And tune in next week to Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Kachmar.